Yeah, unbelievable feeling. There's been obviously a bit of talk in the press, but I haven't really heard anything as such from England. So to get that call was obviously fantastic. I think my worry at the time was where I'm getting a day off. I think if we'd won that semi-final, the playoff in the 100, I would have had 12 days on the trot if I played the test. So I was sort of a bit worried about that and a bit worried about how I'm going to face up to that red ball. But yeah, look, it's exciting. It's always great to get a call to play for your country. Oh, look, I think at the time, especially when you get dropped at the time, you're very emotional. You as a player, you feel you should be playing or you shouldn't be playing or you shouldn't be dropped and what have you. So I think at that time with everything that sort of went on, if you get dropped because you haven't scored runs, that's absolutely fine. People can handle it. I think at the time, especially once the dust settled and you look back and you go, you know what, I didn't score enough runs there, especially in those last 4 or 5 tests that I had to be playing. So it was about the right time. But, the comments and things obviously didn't help. And you work your absolute socks off in your career to earn the right to play for England, and you get that call, and then to have comments that sort of derail you slightly as a player and get sort of pigeonholed into things. And, it's amazing how that sort of leads to just every single Tom, Dick and Harry having an opinion on you, whether it be on social media or what have you, and you sort of get, I wouldn't say abused by that stuff, but every time you nick off or something like that, it comes back to bite you. So, and it probably did affect me for the next sort of 4 to 5, 6 months, especially, I went away and I played some tournaments and I just couldn't get in the right headspace after all of that. But then having a bit of a break and getting back my thoughts and things mentally after all those comments and things happened, found a new lease of life and what I needed, and realized, what I'd done wrong the first time. And luckily enough, I was still in and around the white ball stuff to put some of that in practice. So hopefully this time round, the stuff that I've learned put me in good stead. Yeah, look, I think when you're chasing, it's slightly easier than when you are being chased. When you set certain standards at a certain level, people expect certain things from you, and if you don't hit those standards for 2 or 3 games, you sort of get a bit of flack. Sometimes you think they're unfair because as cricketers, I don't know any cricketer in the world that scores runs every time they walk out, but everyone seems to expect that you should, and if you don't, then you're a bad player. And no one's allowed to have a sort of 2 or 3 or 4 game period where they don't score 100 or a 50. I think we've all lost sort of touch with that a little bit. Cricket's not an easy game. Test cricket's not an easy game. So hopefully, as I said, this time around, hopefully I've learned from those lessons, and hopefully, from the emotional side of it, you can sort of put the failures behind you and just move on and keep planning towards the next one and keep putting some runs on the board if you get the opportunity. Look, I think it just is what it is at the moment with, COVID and with scheduling and the way it is. Obviously the English summer is really tough to find a lot of cricket and to fit the schedule in. I understand that it can't be easy from an ECB or a scheduling point of view to get all those things right, but unfortunately that's just the way it is, and we as players probably just have to get on with it. Yeah, it is. Like, it's, I think we all know how tough English conditions can be at times. It's also a great place to bat once you get in, as Joe Root has shown in all these tests. Even there's a little bit of nibble, he gets in and he scores big, and I think that's the challenge for all of us. Yes, not playing a lot of red ball cricket probably doesn't help with the rhythms and what have you, and the flows of Test cricket. But look, that's the challenge that we as players have. If we're here, we believe we're good enough, and it's up to us to find a way of doing it and actually being able to find a way of batting for long periods of time. Just a good 30 or a good 60 here and there is probably not good enough, really, is it? It's you want to score those big hundreds, and to do that, you probably have to bat for a day and a half. I think that's where the challenge comes when you don't play a lot of red ball cricket. But I don't think we'd be here if we didn't believe we could do it. Yeah, I can't forget that, actually. I don't think I could forget dropping Virat 2 or 3 times and getting 150. So that wasn't one of my best memories of Test cricket, I can imagine. But that just shows you that's Test cricket. It's amazing that just before your time ends, how things like that do go wrong. It's you sort of stop scoring runs, you drop catches, everything sort of seems to fall apart. But yeah, it's not the best memory. Well, I haven't been in the slips much since then or before then, really. And I think that's probably the toughest bit, when you fill different positions in county cricket and then you come into Test cricket and you sort of slot into positions you probably don't do very often. That's not an excuse, because you still work your absolute socks off when you're with England to get better at the skills you do, and you're given all the opportunity to do that. But hopefully if I get back in there, I catch a few more. Well, I think they're very well led. I think Virat, the way he goes about his business is very infectious, and he drags a lot of people with him. They've also got a lot of depth, not only in their batting but in their bowling as well. They've got bowlers that can win Test cricket in all conditions, as they've shown when they've been in Australia, and they've been obviously here in the last Test match. So they just have a lot of depth, and they're fantastic competitors.